Hello and welcome to Flipping Through the Internet's #1 Mad Magazine news, review, and interview channel. Max Korn here, Cub Reporter, for another installment of Mad News. This is not necessarily breaking, but it is ongoing. This news story is ongoing. If you are familiar with Twitter, if you're on there and you're following some of the mad artists that lurk in those shadows, you may have seen a recent tweet about a new mad, and that is, oh sweet, I got it right. Dalton Vaughn, at Dalton Vaughn is his Twitter handle, says, last night, this being November 28th, last night I had a long phone conversation with Mike Gerber, publisher of The American Bystander. He told me that he is talking with former Mad executive editor Bill Morrison about starting a Mad Style magazine that would be a sister publication to The Bystander. Mike says he wants to move fast, so stay tuned. Now, that was not intentional. This, of course, piqued my interest. A new Mad, in a way, a new Mad Style magazine. As many of you dear watchers know, if you're just hearing this news, I'm sorry, but Mad Magazine is all but stopped publication. The issues that they're putting out now are no longer on newsstands. They're either subscription only or at like comic shops. And what they have in them is, at this point, all reprinted material. We will find out with that newest issue, the Sergio Aragones issue that's coming out really any day now for subscribers. So that is the case. And I think a lot of people, myself included, are out looking for something to replace it. But some of us are still holding out hope that there will be a rebirth of Mad Magazine. Now, I will say this. Bill Morrison is going to be on this not this news broadcast. He'll be on the Flippin' Live program this Friday, November 8th. And you can find the link to that down in the description. I've already set up the live stream, so you can open it up and just leave it open until the day arrives. But I'm not the only person whose attention was grabbed by this. Also, we have the great Tom Richmond also has made an appearance on this show. Tom Richmond, if you don't know, and I guess it's possible you don't, he has a great website and he does these blog posts. He's currently going through all of his appearances in Mad magazine, starting at the very first one. It's like 20 years of appearances in Mad, so he's going to be busy. But anyway, so Tom Richmond wrote up this article, and he wrote "A Mad Without Mad." Now, his website is formatted much better. I just zoomed in so that you could read what I'm reading. So he noticed this tweet that Dalton Vaughn put out. Now, there were a few things that he brought up that I had not thought about. Like I said, I've been holding out hope for like Mad Magazine as we know it to be brought back. And he kind of puts out two scenarios. One is DC licensing the Mad brand to another publisher, and the other, just a new publication steps up and takes the place. And I was the person hoping and believing that our best hope for a Mad Style article was, or Mad Style magazine, was in licensing. I don't think DC is cutting down in big ways their comic circulation. I don't think Mad Magazine is much of a thought right now. But he brought up something that I didn't really consider, which is branding. And he talks about how In the 1960s, this part really stood out. No one in the 60s was thinking about having to protect the brand like they do today, especially since the likelihood of large numbers of people in the US seeing the foreign editions in those days was slim. That makes more context if you read the whole article, which you definitely should. This is 2020, and optics is the buzzword. DC would insist on approval of everything and would have to dedicate editorial resources to police the content to protect their brand, thus putting any licensed mad squarely under the corporate yoke anyway. That is something I did not anticipate that I'm glad he brought up, which is even if it is licensed out to somebody else, people would still see DC Comics or Warner Brothers, ultimately AT&T, as being the owner of Mad Magazine, and therefore if somebody really went crazy and pushed the envelope, that corporate entity would have to explain it. And as we've seen, a lot of corporate entities don't really stand up a lot for the artist. They're kind of quick to sort of have this knee-jerk reaction, and then if they need to backpedal and make amends to that artist, they'll do that. But their knee-jerk reaction is to look at the optics, as Tom Richmond points out. And then he goes on to talk about option number 2, which is to create a new humor magazine, enough like Mad, to fill that role. And there, I did it right this time. That's where I think that's where the publisher, Michael Gerber, and Bill Morrison come in with this new sister publication to the American Bystander. They have an opportunity to fill that role. And, I'm curious what that would look like. I did reach out to Michael Gerber, or Mike, I think he goes by, just to ask about what this might be like. And I asked him 2 questions. I said, is this going to be in print? Because personally, I have very little interest in digital magazines. I'm not going to read it, It's just, especially I think with the internet being what it is, it's really, people sort of expect it to be free. You can get cartoons and strips for free, right? And so I think that having something like that, all digital and pay, is difficult. I think it's a little easier starting off that way than like newspapers who were first offering it for free and then expecting people to pay. I think it's a little bit easier to start off as a pay publication. But personally, I know that I want to feel it in my hands. Like my copies of Freaky Magazine, right? Like it's on newsprint. It's great. I can flip through it. I can toss it on the coffee table. Obviously, I don't do that. I bag and board it. But it's having it in my hand is what's important. But that's just me. I don't know. Maybe other people are different. And so I'm really interested in that idea that that Dalton Vaughn put out in his tweet, which is they want it to be Mad style. So I asked Michael Gerber also, like, what in his mind is Mad style? Like, in his view, what is it? I didn't get answers to either of those questions, but we did have a nice interaction and we exchanged emails, or I gave him my email. We're going to maybe have a conversation about that, maybe even have him on this show and we can all learn a little bit more about it. But I mean, he responded to me, so that's pretty awesome. But when I'm thinking about what a new Mad, for lack of a better term, what a new Mad should be or could be, it's like what is it going to be filled with? Tired political gags? Is it going to be filled with just that sort of recycled humor that we saw towards the end of Mad? I would say pre-reboot of Mad, there was a lot of jokes just getting recycled. And I think I should draw a distinction. I don't mean recurring features like a Mad Look At or the lighter side of or snappy answers. Like, that's what builds a brand. But I think that for me, what a new publication has to do is, especially if you are starting off by saying mad style, I think you need to be a little dangerous. And I know there's humor magazines that were more like push the envelope further than Mad Magazine, but I mean, I don't know a lot about them, but what I do know is that when I was a kid, and even sometimes as an adult, young adult, I would open up Mad Magazine and I would guffaw and say like, "What? They actually said that? They actually did that?" And it was fun. Like that sort of taboo in humor is fun and it's engaging. And so I want that to be captured. And I want them to take chances. I think Freaky Magazine is an example of a publication that's taking chances. There's funny stuff. He pushes the envelope. He does he does things like the Subterranean Society, that's the one I fixated on the most because it wasn't even funny, but it was so engaging and it was so bizarre. It was just great to look at. So to me, that's what the new Mad would have to have. It has to push the envelope. It has to be a little bit dangerous, and you got to get away from that sort of recycled political humor that's like, I don't know, to me is polluting the kind of comedy landscape. It's like you got to go through this muck to find stuff that's just like fun and funny. So, with that, everything that I have talked about today, all the people, all the things, they are in the description of this video. Michael Gerber, Dalton Vaughn, all of that stuff is right down there, including the link to my live stream this Friday, December 8th, with Bill Morrison. I really hope that you are there. We're going to be talking all about his time at Mad Magazine and that reboot. And I mean, to me, that was a breath of fresh air, and there were some chances being taken. And we'll get into all that when we talk to him on Friday. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Toodaloo.